Hello and a warm welcome to this Women's Day webinar 2025. It's a special day. Individually speaking, I wouldn't want to call it that special because if you talk about me, I simply feel that every day a woman is special in her own way. So it's just not about Women's Day that we make her feel special. A woman is adding power every day to the family, to the world, to the society. So that's how women should be made to feel special almost every day, not only by the family members but by the society, by acknowledging the kind of work they are doing. But coming back to the theme of this year's Women's Day, and that's a very important one, that how do you rush in women's empowerment? It's very easy to say that, oh, we are working for the empowerment of women should be empowered. That's a given. Everybody knows that you've got to empower women. But are we doing enough to empower the women in their own ways? Or whether it is the family, whether it is the society, whether it is the country, at every level, rate the woman's empowerment? That is the big question. And if you look at the data which has come out from the World Economic Forum, it suggests that the current rate of progress for full gender parity will be reached only by 2158, that is 2158, which means 5 generations from now, you would see an absolute gender parity. So that's a long way, it's a long journey. But how can we contribute to an accelerated women's empowerment? So we'll try and discuss all this, and we'll try and make this webinar into a very conversational one, because my esteemed guests whom you see on the screen, they are from different sectors, and they would be talking about their experiences, what they feel about women empowerment, what women empowerment means for them, and how in their own way they can accelerate women's empowerment. Now let me introduce my special ladies who are with me, and Dr. Malvika Kalanidhi. Let me just introduce you to her. Dr. Malvika Kalanidhi is a general and laparoscopic surgeon specializing in laser proctology and breast surgery with 5 years of experience. She earned her MBBS from Sri Ramachandra University, Chennai, and completed her MS in general surgery at Sri Satya Sai Medical College and Research Institute in 2020. And she treats breast conditions, colorectal disorders, hernias, abdominal wall issues. She's very fluent in English, Tamil, Hindu, and Telugu. My God, I'm so scared. Uh, Multilingual person is there on our platform today. She practices at Bilroth Hospital, Chennai, and a member of the Medical Council of India. She's also completed a fellowship with Indian Association of Gastrointestinal Endosurgeons. So, Dr. Malvika, it's a pleasure having you on today's webinar. Then
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for getting me on this webinar.
my second esteemed panel, Ms. Hema Priya Darshini. She's a Senior Vice President, Agilisium. Ms. Hema is the Senior Vice President of Business Growth and Enablement at Agilisium. I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Overseeing global delivery, revenue strategy, operations, and marketing. She has a strong track record in driving business growth and delivering results. Before Agilisium, she was Associate Vice President at Tech Mahindra XDS, where she played a key role in sales operations, and competency building. Her entrepreneurial mindset and market leadership have helped build long-term client partnerships with a passion for psychology. She brings a unique approach to team building and organizational success. Thank you, Hema Priya, so much for joining on this Women's Day special webinar. Then our third guest, Captain Sonia Jain, and she has paved her way as a trainer, check pilot, and commander with Air India. Wow. Since joining Indian Airlines in 2006, she has amassed over 8,500 flight hours navigating the skies aboard the Airbus A320, A321, A319, and now the Airbus A350. Flying to key international destinations, she's a Kuchipudi classical dancer. Oh my God. A licensed paragliding enthusiast, a skilled snooker player, and an adept public speaker. Her journey has been marked with numerous awards and honors recognizing her contributions to aviation and society. So, Captain Sonia, it's really wonderful to have you on the program. I'm going to hear tales of how you are flying and playing snooker all at the same time, also managing a lot of things at the back end. And the same goes for the other two esteemed panelists. So, I again extend a warm and a very special greeting to all the three of you on this special day. And to begin with, a happy Women's Day to all of you. And I'll begin with Captain Sonia Jain. Sonia, I would really want to know from you that, when you talk about women's empowerment, you've traversed a long journey. When we say that you've got to rush in with the women empowerment, how do you do that in your own way? And feel free to talk about whatever you want, but how would you really accelerate the women's empowerment in your own field, in your field?
Hi, Nilu. Wishing you all a happy Women's Day once again. And talking about women empowerment, uh, as they say, charity begins from home. I think parity begins from home. So, according to me, we should start from home, start from self, the self love is which is so important. Every woman should first recognize her own worth, love herself, and then raise the boys rightly. Like I raise my son in a right way, teach him gender parity, shared responsibilities, and likewise my husband, my family, are we are all into sharing responsibilities, understanding each one's role in the family, and that's what we set an example to the society around. Okay, so I think it starts from home, and obviously then when it comes to workplace and government, everyone has a role to play. Like in a workplace you have child support if it's introduced, and child support, I'm waiting for a day when men also ask child support, where they in men's workplace there are crashes, so that's something which government can think about. Workplaces, we do it is there in few places. I think they should increase the support for child raising, and the leadership roles for women needs to be introduced in many other places, and women should also take up leadership roles, decision making roles, where women percentage is quite less, I feel. So when these things come up, parity will automatically, and we need to rush, definitely, otherwise we can't wait for so many years.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you rightly pointed out that the parity begins at home, the charity begins at home. So you've got to look within yourself. But if I may ask you, as a woman pilot, as a woman captain pilot, what are the challenges really in your field? Because I'm sure the women would want to hear from you that what are the kind of difficulties you face, not only when you are flying, but otherwise as well, when you come out of your plane and how you are seen in the aviation sector. uh, is it really a challenge for the women to grow in your sector?
Okay, so Nilu, I joined in 2006, where the percentage of women were around 8%. I'm talking about in India, in Air India, and now India has got a 15% lady pilots, which is, and we are the maximum in the world, which is a great thing. Aviation as such is a male-dominated field. Everyone knows that, but fortunately for me, I think a woman definitely has to work twice her worth to prove herself. So I also did the same thing. I put my double effort to show that yes, I am as capable as any other man in aviation. And once you create your image and you have created your stand, I think nothing can budge you, and everyone respects you for what you are. And fortunately for me, I haven't seen any gender discrimination in my field, because it has accepted women. But what you ask me, when I step out of my cockpit, when I step out of the aircraft, how am I looked, I must say that it's such a proud feeling, because there are people applauding. They're very proud to see a lady pilot. They see that it's very rare. So it kind of boosts our morale. So I think everyone should plunge into different fields, though they're very rare and different. You will be applauded and encouraged when you prove your worth.
Absolutely. And that feeling of coming out of the cockpit and then just moving and people watching you, that, oh, she's a lady pilot. My God, she was flying an airplane. That's really a wonderful feeling. Okay, now coming on to my next guest, I'll come to you, Hema Priya. What according to you is actually women's empowerment? And my question, which is the theme of this year, that how do you accelerate the women's empowerment? Because the World Economic Forum data says that 2158, that's a long journey, and 5 generations from now, if we will be achieving gender parity, so which means that we are not doing enough to empower the women, whether it is at the family level. The beginnings have started, and they're all showing positive signs. The family is has started supporting, the society has also started supporting, the country has started supporting with policies, but it's not enough. So how do you bring in that, that enough empowerment to be accelerated in your own field?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Neelu. First of all, happy Women's Day to everyone around and to the audience as well. Let me put it this way, right? One of the things that people say is women are very emotional, and every decision that they take is very emotional when compared to any other gender, and hence it's the biggest weakness. But I would put it the other way around. Let's take a step back. Let's look at a little bit of data. What would happen if you don't bring in the gender parity very quickly, right? Or rather, let's put it this way: what is going to happen if you put in the gender parity in place in the next few years, or in the at least the next couple of generation, if not for the five that's coming down? First and foremost, it's going to bring in a big economic growth, right? It's going to be a big economic driver. If you look at it right now, you would see that they say that at least 9x of women do domestic work and unpaid domestic work. Imagine a state that women are able to step out of their whole hidden agenda, I mean hidden role of doing a very powerful role, being behind the family to drive things. If they come out, the economic growth that we're going to bring in, at least they say in India, it's about 770 billion that we can add to the GDP. That's huge. Think about the societal change that we will bring in together. As I'm not talking about women itself, right? Together as men, women, as gender parity actually gets a little more, the parity happens really, really in a very in the right ways, right? You are going to bring in growth together from a societal perspective, from a social perspective. There's going to be growth from moral thinking perspective. There is nobody cocooned within what they believe is the way to do, right? So that's the first change. That's the biggest change that is going to be driving, and why it is important. When we have defined the why and how is it going to change, I'll give you simple examples. I don't want to be really generic. 15, 20 years back when I started off my career, one of the things that happened is, hey, I loved to do the sales role. And I went to one of my bosses and said, you know what, boss, I think I'm going to try the sales role. What do you say? Then he looked at me top to bottom and said, you know what, Hema, it's okay. I don't think you should be doing it right now. You're just married. Go ahead, go for a child, build your family. That's more important right now. That's the place where one woman's potential is blocked. Now, I could have taken it in a sense that, oh, you know what, this is not going to happen. Let me go back and do what I'm doing right now, very mundane task. Or I would want to move forward and see how it happened. 6, 7, or rather 8 years after that particular incident, it's still so strong in my head. And I go back to my next boss, the next opportunity, and I say, you know what, boss, you don't give me a role, but you just allow me to do this. Let me check whether I'm capable of doing it. So you get what I'm trying to say, right? Let me check whether I'm capable of doing it. And the boss says, that's fine. As long as there's no incentive tag to what you're doing, as long as
Yeah.
nobody knows that you're a salesperson, it's perfectly fine. Go ahead and give it a try. And when I give it a try, I could actually meet the potential. I could actually be the top sales guy in the company, the salesperson in the company. Now, what does that mean? Uh, what does that mean is I got an opportunity to find a potential. Now, the women might think that, you know what, oh, yeah, you took it with the right spirit, you were motivated, you were empowered, not necessarily an empowerment from outside, but I took this as an opportunity to still break that barrier, to break that, figure out what my potential is, right? Now,
Right.
if I have to go back and look at it, it did take 8 years. Now, the change should come within us. Should I give up or should I actually move forward? 8 years is a big time, maybe today for a person like me. But when I'm setting the stage for the next generation or the next batch of women who come in, the freshers, I really tell them, hey, you know what? You're good at sales. Go ahead and do it now. Don't wait for it. Because I picked that opportunity to build it slowly. 8 years is a big time, but what matters more is you're setting the stage for the next generation. You're not fizzling out and saying that, hey, you know what? I just want to be the example that I wanted to.
No, but Hema, you made a very good point. But I'm just wondering, in an environment where you are growing, where you are dealing with a client business growth relationship, you're bringing in you're bringing a lot on the table. And the point is, the kind of understanding you would have, like you said, that the kind of ordeal which I went through. Now I would encourage the women to begin from the start. how many of
sees
the
from
women
somebody else. I
also,
think
yeah, no, what my point is that how many women would be that understanding in your workplace, and how many men are going to extend that kind of a support? uh, Even though the woman may change her mindset, but will the men change their mindset with the same pace with which you changed? Hema, can you hear me? Hema, are you able to hear me? Okay, so we'll connect with Hema. In the meanwhile, I'll just come to Dr. Malvika now. That okay, she's got disconnected. We'll wait for her to come back, but I'll come to Dr. Malvika now. Dr. Malvika, according to you, you are in the medical field. I'm sure you have your own set of challenges, but how do you think that the women can really accelerate, or rather, the society can accelerate the empowerment of women? Of course, there are lots of policies which the government has provided. A lot of settings have changed, and I'm talking about the societal settings. I'm talking about the economic settings. Lot of things have changed for the women. We cannot say that women haven't got anything. We have got a lot of support. We have got a lot of empowerment. We can boast of a lot of things that we are moving in a positive direction, but then still it's not enough when you talk about an absolute gender parity. So where are we lagging? If I may ask you, okay, Hema is back. So can I just shoot that question once again to Hema, and then I'll come back, Dr. Malvika. Sorry.
Sure,
Yes, so
of
Hema, I was
course.
wanting to ask you that the kind of ordeal which you faced, and you realized that you've got to give that push to the women right from the start. Think how many women in your workplace would be that supportive, and also how many men would be that supportive, to understand that bit, that this is the basic uh, requirement where a woman needs that push. How many men are understanding in your field?
interesting question, Nilo. I would rather flip it a little bit because uh, men and women are supportive, let me put it that way, but they do it in their own ways. Now the reason I'm saying that is there's one person who believes that, hey, you know what, women are emotional, women are very either victim, or they are either victimized or villainized. And on the other end, there are real women who support and then say, hey, you know what, nudge each other, let's move in this race. But the beauty about this game is how do we take it forward. I have men where at home, at office, who actually say, you know what, Hema, you go ahead, we will get this done for you. You know what, Hema, get this done, and I'm going to make sure that you're successful and your milestone is achieved. There are also men who say that, you know what, you're not ready yet. This one parameter you did not finish, and there is no way that I'm going to get you what you want. So I think it's the battle that's on the head. And as long as women are able to handle the battle on the mind and rather the society, I would look at every opportunity and every challenge as a beautiful battle and take it forward. I think that's my take on this, and it's a hard earned learning that I did, Nilu, over a period of time. Because the more you harp on what's not coming in as a support, we rather take it as an opportunity and battle your mind rather than the society. I think half the problem is done.
Absolutely, I completely agree with Hema, and I'm on to this particular thing. That when you say that you've had enough of empowerment, yes, we are all there, the four of us on the screen. Uh, we feel empowered because our family is supportive, our bosses are supportive, our country is supporting us in many ways. But yes, where there are complaints, we do talk about it, and we are lucky that our voices are heard. We are on a platform where people listen to us, and our words matter. Our voice matters. That's the biggest thing. And in those little changes which each woman tries to bring in, what matters is your voice resonating enough? I think if you can make that little change, even that small change becomes contributes to that big change in the society. But coming back to this empowerment question, I'll come to Dr. Malvika. Dr. Malvika, in your own field, where I was what I was asking you was that we are all empowered, but it's not enough to bring in an absolute gender parity. And for that matter, even the most powerful country in the world, which we see as America, there are also people, the women are cribbing, the men are cribbing, the society is cribbing that, there's not absolute gender parity, despite so much of advancement in their own social fields and in their economic fields. But where in India are we lagging, according to you, when you talk about absolute gender parity? Where are we going wrong? Because it's time now to talk about those challenges as well. Okay, we've spoken enough. Our husbands are supportive, our families are supportive, but what more do we need?
So, thank you for getting me on the panel, Neelu, and also a very happy Women's Day. So, considering I'm from the healthcare field, I'd like to mostly address, topics towards healthcare when it comes to women. So, what I've seen, as in discriminating between women and men, is that when women come to me with a complaint, like, I mean, even if it's a very serious complaint of things like cancer and all of that, end of the day, despite them going through all of that, the entire mental load of taking care of the family still falls on the woman. So, like, she just never gets a break. So, for example, I'm just going to state a case that I saw very recently. There was a 46-year-old woman who had come to us with a complaint of a lump in the breast. So she'd been having this complaint for about 4 to 5 months, but this was the first time she was coming to us. And the reason that she stated was that her daughter was getting married, and all of the work of dealing with the marital ceremony and all of that ended up falling on her. And also she was very, very apprehensive about coming because she felt like it would be really stigmatized and it would really ruin the prospect of her daughter getting married. So later on, when I examined her, it turned out to be breast cancer. And unfortunately, since it had already been 4 months, it had, destroyed her entire breast, and it had spread to, different parts of her body. So I think mostly it would, if we would want to empower women, I think it would really involve, have to involve us educating women on, how to take care of their health better. Because end of the day, if they're not going to be around, their family isn't really going to benefit from that. So taking care of their health at the earlier stages would really help benefit the family
I'm sure,
also. And
you would agree. You would agree that when it comes to health, the women are so engrossed in catering to others' needs that they normally neglect their own
yes,
health. It
yes,
happens with
yes,
us. It
yes,
happens with me many
yes,
times. So I
yes,
can purely, I can imagine what it is for a woman, and especially if there are health challenges in the family. Yes, please go ahead,
yes.
Dr. Malvika.
One of the ways that we can, empower women is to start educating our boys from a younger age, wherein even in schools, they start to like bring in classes on like gender neutrality and things like that, where the gender roles are not, completely split based on like men do only these works and women do only these works at home. So, it's not always going to be 50-50, but even when it's 30-70 on some days, it has to be 70-30 on other days. So, the entire work of child rearing and managing the household cannot fall on only women, because now a lot of women are empowered to go out and work, and make sure that they're financially stable. But when all of this is happening, who is empowering the men to, manage the household to compensate for that? So, like, the entire burden of now financial stability and the household ends up falling on the women. And maybe in more progressive families, it's taken care of by both the men and the women, and it's about 50-50. But I think in lower sectors of society, and in people who are not really as empowered, I would say, things are still, taking a backseat, where the mental load still falls on the woman.
True.
So yeah.
That's very true. Okay, Captain Sonia, I'll come to you now. That in your field, especially when you what see the glass ceiling and all has broken long time back, I think, and it's now there's no point in saying that, oh, we've broken the glass ceilings. You already in your own field have broken the glass ceiling,
True.
in a way that not many women pilots were seen once upon a time, but now you find dime in dozens. So there are lots of women who are there. but and everyone is making a difference, to the society, to the aviation sector in their own ways. But what still are the challenges before you? I'm talking purely about you. If you can talk about things from your perspective, it would be great. That where do you see yourself 5 years down the line? Where would you want yourself to improve in terms of women empowerment? What are your expectations maybe over the next 5 years? Because when you talk about accelerating the women empowerment, we have to set deadlines. I think then only that women empowerment will get accelerated. Then have we done enough, to bring in women onto a particular level? Maybe in the next 5 years, then we draw another roadmap of 5 years. It's like a 5 year planning each time for a women empowerment plan. So where do you see yourself 5 years down the line, maybe?
Neelu, as of today, the management role, as I told, is mostly headed by the men in most of the companies as well as my company. Okay, like the major decision making positions and all are taken by the men. So in the next 5 years, I see myself there. Not only me taking another truckload of women to that position along with me, and that's how I feel I will be empowered, and I'll be empowering rest along with me. So which again needs a lot of talking, lot of educating, lot of motivating, and lot of awareness which will come along, and that is where I see myself, where I'm managing home. My child would be teen by then, so managing a teenager with the home, flying, and also doing management duties, which is going to be a lot of multitasking. But I think each one of us have much capabilities than what we know. So for me to tap every department in front of me would be my achievement in the next 5 years, where I think I'll be truly empowered. And the challenge as of today, what I'm seeing is when I am doing long flights, like after 5 days I come back home. So there is much at the home side you need to take care of. You just can't come and your jet lag so you can sleep for 2 days. It's still not happening. When a man goes, travels and comes back, he just sleeps, gets up, goes back to office. Can a woman do that? She just can't, because you still have, it is a societal thing, and also a mother instinct, you can say, where you need to follow up on what you have missed on your child's part, your family's part, give time to your in-laws, your
So
husband,
you
your
do
child.
you do have
you know
those difficult moments where you're not able to sleep, though you are
I have
desperate,
been having from the day I joined aviation, and no more
right.
so when I've had a child. So, when you give birth to a child, your challenges become 200%, So, that thing, I don't know how many years it is going to, motherly instincts are not going to change, but only thing what can change is the responsibilities being shared by your partner and by your in-laws, your mother, your family. So, I think one needs to learn to trust on others and give duties, delegate duties, distribute work, and also build a bond with people around you, so that you are there when they need you and they are there when you need them. So it's a lot of sacrifice also which comes along, and I think everyone around you would be doing it if you also do it. So balancing, and each one of us want to do our roles perfectly as a mother, wife, daughter-in-law, daughter. So that would be a challenging with my kind of work, because I'm out for 5 days, then I'm here jet lagged, and by the time I am back to my feet, it's time to go again. So that's where I would be seeing myself balancing it all perfectly well.
So I think that there are learning lessons in what you've just shared, that you've got to
Yes.
share responsibilities. Also, wherever an opportunity can be given, should that opportunity has to be given to the women. I'm not saying that that opportunity men don't need, but since a woman is doing so much of balancing, which many times the men don't even recognize, uh, okay, they'll extend love, they'll be supportive, but many times a woman does feel that, oh, I did the smallest thing, but then she was not recognized, or maybe the men wouldn't care to do to recognize a woman in that small bit. And many times it happens, it happens with every woman. Okay, so Hema Priya, now I'll come to you now. That how do we rush in this empowerment process? And I'm purely talking about rushing in this empowerment because now we need a speed, we need a scale, and and how do we bring in that speed and scale to this women empowerment? Okay, in different fields, we are in the political field, we are talking about a women's reservation, that you should have more of women representing the people in parliament, in assemblies. That is one bit. But in your field also, I mean, I'm not talking about a women's reservation there, but how do you rush in this empowerment process?
Yeah, I would put it this way. There are two parts. One is a systemic barrier that we need to, like any other system, there are systemic barriers in the field that I am in. The IT field might sound very rosy, we all step in. But the interesting part is you would see that 48% of STEM education, we have about women coming out with high ranks, but there are only 14% of women who are in the leadership roles. Now, this is a very interesting factor because at some point in time, we actually let go of what we are actually capable of and we move forward. And I think the way we have to, a good set of leaders who are actually coming in, have to teach the next generation, our own peers, about what it means to hold on to what it means to let go. When you know that you can't let go, and you know it's just about a little more time to hold on to it and show people that the next generation of women, the next generation, to say that, hey, you know what, guys, I know I could have let go of this, but I did not. Let me hold on to it. Maybe it was not in a hurry, but I'll get it done. But there are certain things that you should have as an art of letting go, where you know what, it doesn't really matter. Marking an email as an approved doesn't give you the high, but the purpose behind, doing certain things without an authority, still being a leader, makes you look very special. And I think those purposeful barriers have to be broken down by knowing and teaching people what it means to let go and what it means to hold on when you're actually thinking of quitting. So I think personally, I would prefer to play this game emotionally, get the individuals, whether it is men or women, to play this role. And from a systemic barrier perspective, we all know there is enough data to say that there is parity, whether it is pay, whether it is recognition, whether it is a seat on the table. Now, I would say
Absolutely.
that I would say that data and AI has a role to play, especially because somebody like me who's in that field right now, I think reasonably it's important that we apply data and AI to say, you know what, men, we are not asking or crying for certain thing. You know what, bosses, this is not what we are looking for. Just go back and look at the data, look at the promotion data that you've given. If you had, if these are the promotions that you've approved for certain set of people because it's subjective to what you believe is done well, then it is not what is to the potential of
I'm
the
just
individual or the
thinking, I'm just thinking, how a male boss probably would react to this kind of a data mirror, what you're talking about. I'm just wondering how many male bosses would be really happy when if you share some data with them on how many women have got promotions or how many women have done well. Uh, it's almost going to be like showing the society a mirror. How many male would like that, Himapriya?
uh, let me put it this way. Currently, if I look at the company that I'm working right now, Agilisium, we look at data. Every decision that we do take is based on data. And one of the things that our bosses insist is go back on the data. Hey, this has been done by ABCD. I don't care who does it, but ABCD gets this and DCE does not get it, right? Now, the beauty about this data game is it gives you black and white. It tells you who's done what and who's not. uh, there is a 99% of the society that might not accept it, but the generation is changing. It's the Gen Zs that are going to take over, and women in Gen Zs are clear, their purpose is clear, the men know what they want, and they really don't want to spend 24 hours in an office to believe, working at office 24 hours at a particular point meant that you're doing a lot of work. I see him every night, more than 12 sitting in the office. No, it doesn't really work that way, because you're going to be dealing with a new generation of people. This is a new era. It's like something new that's hit us all in every other field that we are working in. And this generation of people need a different kind of an approach. You can't do what you did earlier with the earlier generation. We were all very flexible and accommodative to the way we were running. I think data, AI, and the way the creativity is going to bound in, and we need to embrace that. We need to embrace that change. And the way I'm looking at it, Nilo, is look at the way women have been in our society, especially the Indian society. Beautiful women. It's just that they did not step out of their hidden cage. That's about it. But they
Absolutely.
were behind working on the financials of the family. They are amazing negotiators. They know how to get the next generation up to speed and get them driving, irrespective of what kind of emotional personalities they are. So they were, I would say, the moms of Indian society are the hidden CEOs. And imagine if they are on the boardrooms talking the conversation of negotiation, talking the language of, hey, how do I bring this business onto the table? How do I make the next generation leader? They become very, very special. And I don't think it's a little more than empowerment. Just give me a seat on the table and see what we can do for you. That's about it,
Absolutely.
right? I think it's a
Absolutely.
little more than women empowerment is what I would look at it. And breaking stereotypes, I think we've been trying, and some of us here on the room is in the room are part of breaking stereotypes, and I'm sure uh, all of us are doing day in and day out. But we need a new recipe. We need a seat on the table,
Absolutely. In
and it
fact,
has to be told
today
a different way.
Absolutely. Today is a day, where you share those small stories. And I would also want to share with the audience and with all of you a little story, which was unfolding in my home. And I had a cook, a female cook. She was there. She was very poor, and I gave her a lot of support. Not that I'm tom-tomming about it, but what I want to talk about is that she used to cook in our house, and she was harassed a lot by her in-laws, and she used to come and tell me, share with her, I mean, her pain. So I used to support her, and in the sense emotional support, not that I was, and she was getting her salary as usual. But she used to say that her mother-in-law never wanted her to educate her daughter, and she had a daughter whom she raised just by washing vessels and by cooking in various houses. So but everywhere she didn't get that kind of support, but I kept on encouraging her every day that please teach your daughter, don't send her to others homes to to mop and clean. And just 3 days back, I got a call that the daughter whom she raised, she has cleared her MBBS exam. So, and she's a doctor. I was almost in tears.
That's amazing, Neelu. That's so inspiring. I mean, we are inspired by you. You have raised a doctor, literally.
So I just thought that we should. Uh, I just thought of sharing this story, but I was almost in tears. Yes, Malvika.
No, it's lovely, Nilu. Trust me, we are all making little changes every single day, and I'm sure, there's many more that we can do, much more to do, rather than focusing on on larger things. I think little things make a lot of difference in each of our lives. Lovely for that note, Nilu.
No, I just thought of sharing that bit that, that lady was working against all odds. And even then, she raised her daughter. Not that I was giving her any support. She used to come and share her pain with me. And the only thing I told her was that please don't send your daughter to work in others' houses. Just educate her, no matter what. And she heard that bit, and I did my bit. And day before yesterday, that phone call came from her village because she's gone back to her village in Calcutta. And she said that, Didi, my daughter has cleared the MBBS exam. Okay,
That's
so
such an inspiring story.
sorry, sorry for getting that emotional, but yes, Dr. Malvika, now over to you. I mean, we are talking about empowerment of women, rushing in that empowerment process. What would you really like to say towards the end on a day like this? And I personally speaking, there are people who just believe in tokenism as well on this particular day. That okay, let's write Happy Women's Day. There'll be people watching you. You'll be known as the person who's recognizing the women, but the entire year they wouldn't care too much for what the women are going through. So also, what do we need to tell the world on this particular day? Of course, every day has to be a women's day. I simply believe that 8th March is not enough to just tell you that okay, happy women's day. Woman has to be made to feel special almost every day. But when you talk about this empowerment journey, what would you really say towards the end, Malvika?
This is definitely an ongoing process. It's not something where, like, only on Women's Day we talk about it and then just forget about it the next day. So I think we can probably, take this back to our companies and like to our workplaces where at least in terms of healthcare and child support, where they help us with it, where every workplace starts to include childcare. And apart from that, also make sure that women go through health screenings and things like that, especially with the rise in breast cancer, cervical cancer, ovarian cancers, and other things that affect women. And apart from that, also things like cardiac arrest and heart attacks and all of that have also started to get a little more common. I think health screenings in women, especially beyond a certain age, after like about 35 or 40 years of age, would really help women, especially in picking up things earlier. So it would really mean the difference between life and death in these scenarios. So I think we can take it back to our HRs and our companies, wherein they include health screenings for for women in their policies, and I think that would really help.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's wish all of us and a very happy Women's Day once again. But yes, we need to remind ourselves each day that each of us is doing small bits every day, which needs to be recognized. And the woman needs to be made to feel special on an everyday basis. So it should be Happy Women's Day every day. Then only you will find a powerful society. And of course, coming back to the theme of the Women's Day 2025, that how do you Russian this empowerment process? How do you accelerate the women's empowerment? We need to think loud. We need to think more. We need to devise strategies. We need to devise platforms by which you give more opportunity to women. And not only to women, we don't want an imbalance that, okay, even it's just women who are progressing in the society. We need a balance. That's where the gender parity comes in. And the data is again scary. Hema was talking about the data. So the data from the World Economic Forum says that the gender parity will be achieved in India only by 2158. So that's a long journey. So which means we really need to Russian this empowerment process. So it's the governments, the society, the families, everyone needs to come together to think about ways and means to accelerate this women empowerment, because an empowered woman is an empowered country, is an empowered society, an empowered family. So thank you once again, Captain Sonia Jain, Dr. Malvika, Hema Priya, and sorry for being that emotional. I became teary-eyed because I just got that call from for my help, and I really felt happy. So just sharing that bit of happiness with all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
That's